So let's start with the new chapter, Android activity life cycle. So basically in Android, Google has introduced a component which is a activity life cycle, which is architecture component, and it has been developed to make the development for the developer easier. Okay, so everything in Android is class because it is a Java, so everything is a class. So life cycle is also a class which holds the information about the state of an activity, and also it allows other objects to observe the state by keeping track of it. Okay, so as I have told you, in Android, whenever you run your application, you see something. Okay, you see some widgets and everything. So that is a layout which is connected with the activity. So the actual thing running is the activity which is rendering your layout as in your XML file. Okay, so activity is responsible for everything. Every business logic and interaction with the widgets will be done in activity only. All the code you want to write which will be running into activity. Also, whenever your application is running, your activity is running, not your layout. Okay, activity is the component which is rendering your layout. So let's have a look at this graph, which is the life cycle graph. So there are 7 methods of activity life cycle, which is on, create, on, start, on, resume, on, pause, on, stop, on, destroy, and on restart. Okay, so let's check it one by one. So whenever in your mobile you run some application, some activity is launched. Okay, now that activity is declared in manifest file. Manifest file is the one file in which you will write all the configuration. You will tell your application which activity to launch at the beginning, or what will be the configuration for that activity, what will be the constraint for that activity. So everything is written in this manifest file. So let's see this manifest file. Okay, and I have main activity here, which is rendering this activity underscore main. Okay, and which is declared here also in activity tag. In application tag you can have activity tag, and into that activity tag, into the name section, you will write the path of that class file, and likewise you will add some details. So let's come on to that detail in few minutes. So very first method is on create method. Okay, see, this on create method is mandatory to override. Whenever you are writing any activity code, it is mandatory to override this on create method, and the execution of this method is mandatory also. So on create method will be executed once only. If you open some application, and if that application is opening some activity, so this on create will be executed once. Unless and until you close that application and open it again, this on create will not execute. But into the entire lifetime, so your on create will execute one time, and so you need to override this on create mandatorily. After that your on start will execute. So in on create you will initialize all the parameters and variables you want to initialize. Okay, so that your program can use those initialized variables into your activity, or your activity can use those variables entirely. So for example, if you are taking some button into your layout, now that button will have on touch event or on click event. So in order to use that on click event, you need to create one instance of that button, and that instance has to be initialized into on create, so that you can use that instance throughout your activity. Okay, so that on create, into that on create, if you initialize that instance, you can use it anywhere into your application. It will be ready to use, it will be ready to listen to the interactions with that UI. Okay, after that on create, on start method will execute, so which actually describe that the start of your activity. Okay, and on resume will be executed. Okay, so these are the three methods which will be executed sequentially for whenever you start the activity. Okay, and now once this on resume method executes successfully, your activity will go into the running state. Running state means on your screen your activity is visible. On your screen all of your components are visible, and they are ready to interact with the user. They are ready to interact with the user. So that is why your activity will go into running state once the on resume method executes successfully. Okay, and whenever your activity goes into the running state, it comes on the screen. So whenever you see any of the activity being rendered or coming to the screen, you can assume that on resume method has completed its execution. Okay, so one by one let's check how it works into the emulator or into the real time. So I will just run my emulator. Okay, let's run the emulator once we write the code. So as you can see, this is my activity. Okay, I can create my any activity. I can create new activities also. So let's create that into a few minutes. Let's first check with this main activity. So in main activity, if I am extending app concat activity, this is one of the type of activities provided by Google to use some features of the activity. You can use normal activity also. Okay, and into this activity there is a method called onCreate, which is of a class lifecycle, and it is mandatory to override this onCreate. Why it is mandatory? Because you are going to write a code to render your layout. So set content view is used for that only. To render your layout, your set content view method will be executed, and into that you will pass r.layout.activity_main, your layout file name or your layout file path. Okay, this is basically the ID which set content view is accepting. See, set content view int layout resource ID. So this is R file, layout resource ID R file is created here. Okay, and any of the ID you can access from this R file. See, if I go to this R file, I don't know if this will open or not, but let's see. This R file, it is not shown here. Okay, so this R file is used for that. Okay, and in R file you can have all the IDs registered. So set content view, it will take a parameter as the layout file, and it will render your layout. So that is why onCreate method is mandatory to override. Now once that on set content view is executed, you can see your layout on the screen. It will start to render those components. Now we will see how these three methods are executed. Okay, we will see how these three methods are executed. So we will override them into our activity. Okay, so here I will write on start. As you can see, on start method is available for overriding. See, override on start and super.onStart. So this super.onStart is nothing but your super class, which is app concat activity. Into that on start method is there, which is executed at the first. Now here, if you want to see how this execution is going on, you will need a log. So once that method is executed, this method onStart method, once it is executed, we will execute the log and it will be printed on this logcat. See, it will be printed on this logcat. Here on logcat you can see all the information regarding your application and your mobile phone. See, if this package mine, if I set it, it will show me all the information regarding to my emulator data. Okay, whatever information some application has logged, that you will see it here. So for that I will write log.v. See, log.v is verbose. See, I is used for information, then V is there, D is there, W is there, assert, debug, D is for debug, E for error, I for info. So log.v, that is verbose we will use, and we will have to provide some tag, so that we can identify our log using this tag. And here you can print anything. Into the message section you can print anything. So I will write on start executed. I will write on start executed. Now this on start executed log you can see once your on start method is executed. And for same I will write here also for on create executed. Okay, so on start, on create, I am done. Now I will write on so on resume also I have overridden, and I will write here, I will copy and paste that content and I will write on resume. Okay, so whenever this application whenever these methods are being executed, you will get a notification or a message onto this logcat. Okay, so let's run this application first. But before running your application, let me tell you, Android manifest file is the file which is the heart of your application. For example, it will circulate and it will provide all the necessary things to your organs. Okay, so this is your configuration file. Basically, whatever things you are going to use in your application, you will have to register it here. If you are using some service, register it here. If you are using some activity, register it here. What kind of theme you are using, register it here. Okay, so activities are also registered here. So this is application tag, and into application tag you can see activity tag. So to register that activity, you will need to write activity tag, and into the name section you will write the path of that activity. Here dot main activity they have written this dot main activity. Why? Because this dot means your package, your base package. This is your base package, com.example.demo activities is your base package. Okay, so this base package, into this base package we have given main activity, right? So that path is dot base package dot main activity. Okay, so this is how you need to provide that path. If you want to check how it will take it automatically, so just delete it and press Ctrl space here. It will automatically give you dot main activity here as a suggestion. Okay, now next part is intent filter. This intent filter, see why this intent filter is needed. Intent filter is needed so that you will tell the manifest file that this is my launcher file. This activity needs to be launched at the very beginning. Whenever a user will click on the app icon in his mobile, I need you, that means I need you means manifest file, I need manifest file to open this activity as a launcher activity. So I will write this intent filter tag, and into that I will write action, which is main, and category launcher. Action, main and category launcher. If I cut and paste this code into some another activity, then that activity will becomes launcher activity. Okay, but right now I have only one activity and this has to be a launcher activity. So for main activity, launcher will be my main activity. Okay, so as you can see, my code is sorted. I have written all of my code. Now I'll just run it on my emulator. So my application is running now. If I open my application, you can see the code in XML, which is text view. Okay, see my activity. Now I will go to logcat to check what log I can see. So here you can see entire log. There are many things in the log, but here my first app is also executed. But for simplicity, I will just change the filter of this logcat. I will write tag : and my first app. Okay, so I will clear this, and now what I will do is I will open my application again. Okay, now I will clear my logs and I will open my application. Okay, now I have opened my application and you can see on create executed, which is this line, on start executed, which is this line, on resume executed, which is this line. So my three methods have executed. Now let's go ahead. Now my activity is running. My activity is running now. After my activity is running, if any activity comes into the foreground, if any another activity comes into the foreground, the meaning of this is what? Suppose you get a message, suppose your activity is open and you get a message into the notification tray, like a WhatsApp message or something like that, and if you click on that message, your WhatsApp will open. At that time, another activity comes into foreground, means the WhatsApp will come into the foreground, which is another activity, another application. At that time, on pause will execute. And once your activity is no longer visible, then on stop will execute. So into that process, on pause and on stop will execute one by one sequentially. Okay, after on stop, just like I said, now your WhatsApp is running. Now your application is not running, WhatsApp is running. But if I click on this icon here, see this square icon, it will give me other open applications into the background, right? If I click on this icon and if I click on my application again, if I try to open my application again, see, if I try to open my application again, my application will go and execute on restart method. This method will be executed into my application, on restart method, and after that again on start and on resume method will be executed, and again my activity will be in running state. See, if I open that app again, on restart will execute, then on start and on resume will execute, and my activity will be in restart mode again. But here, if you close that application, or it is being destroyed by the system, by Android, by DVM, automatically, if it is shut down or cleared, or if you clear it manually, or if you close that application from the stack also, on destroy will be executed, and after on destroy your app will go to shutdown mode. It will be not be running into the memory anymore. Okay, so this is how on stop and on destroy will work. Okay, so let's override other methods here. Now since I have written on resume, I will write on pause. Here on pause method, and so the same log I will put it, and I will write on pause. Now on stop, same method I will write and override with the log on stop. On restart I will do now. On restart, and on destroy. See, currently in some Android updates, what is happening, on destroy method is not executed. There is no guarantee that on destroy method will execute every time. Okay, so whatever code you want to write in on destroy, you will have to write in on stop only. Okay, so let's run this application and check how it works. So it is running on the device, as you can see here, launching on the device. Once it start the launching, you can see the log into the logcat, and you can see the methods being executed into the logcat. Okay, so the application is running now, and as you can see, I have got the logcat here with the timing. This is the timing. They have provided milliseconds also. So com.example.demo activities on create, on start, on resume. Okay, now let's try to get other methods also. So here I will push this button. See this rectangular button? I will push this button and minimize my application into the back stack. So I have clicked on that button, as you can see, on pause and on stop is executed. See, my application is into tracks tray. This is a tray for application, recent application tray. Okay, so on pause and on stop is executed. Right now I will add some line here so that you can understand the new log. Okay, on pause and on stop executed. So this is on pause and on stop. Okay, now if I go to my application again, you see on restart, on start, and on resume is called. So just like I told you, on restart, from on stop I have user navigate to the activity, that means our activity. So on restart, on start, and on resume has been called. So here on restart, on start, and on resume has been called. Right, now I will click on that button again. So I will clear this log and I will click on that button again. See this button, and I will clear this activity from this stack. So I have cleared. See, so after that on destroy has not executed, because in latest Android updates on destroy will only execute on some of the devices, not all of the devices. Okay, so I have written on pause and on stop. Right, okay, so this is for one activity. If you are having one activity, this is how you will see how life cycle, Android life cycle works. Okay, if you have multiple activities also, it will work for multiple activities also. Okay, if you have multiple activities, it will work for multiple activities also. This same will happen for each and every activity in your application. Now this code is for single activity. Right, now I will show you how to go from one activity to another into the next video. Right, so for that I need to create another activity into this project, and also add things into manifest file. Okay, so let's just have a look into the next video how to go on the another activity and how this life cycle will work.